this late evening. Welcome to African Diaries.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I was just laughing as I was saying that because that is a reality that most of us face, and we find ourselves in these toxic environments, not understanding why. So, thank you so much for inviting me to explain more on this topic.
Banzi, you went through the Will Smith book. You looked at his
Yeah.
autobiography, and you sort of summated some of the points in that video. For
Yeah.
those who haven't read the book and are saying, "What's going on?" Maybe give us a clearer
Yeah.
picture now.
Yeah, no, he was talking about his experience growing up, how he grew up in an abusive family, I mean, from a father that was abusing his mom, and him not being able to defend his mom, and using comedy as an escape to sort of mask and sort of avoid having the confrontation. So that's something that I had to resonate. It resonated a lot with me as well, where we sort of escape from our reality and we create a sort of alternate reality where we sort of live in the future and never in the present. So he talks about his journey and how he always missed great moments, like where he would be celebrated from winning a Grammy or winning or being the best performing movie in the cinemas. So he would always miss those special moments and enjoying those special moments of being a number one movie or the best actor. And he always focused on what is the next big thing, the next movie. So he sort of talks about his journey of living in the future, and as well as his relationship with Jada in terms of how he always pictured her as this, she was the biggest star, so he wanted someone who was in the level or greater than who he was, and he could never actually see her for who she was. And he sort of created that even in his family, and he sort of talks about how the relationship dynamics, even with his kids, where in what we're seeing now, how they are living, where they are trying to show him that they are not this person that he's created. They are not this family that he created in his head. So I really love that book. I resonated a lot because I'm someone who also escaped a lot in my past and lived in the future, and I realized I missed special moments. I even had moments where my sisters had to confront and said, "We don't know you." So it's those kind of things where I had to had a reality check and come to my senses and realize that, okay, it's let's live in the moment. Let's let go of the future. Let's let go of living and dreaming and trying to escape your reality and be in this moment and live your reality. So that's what basically that book is about in summary.
Sure. What a summary there, Banzi. I want to come
Mm-hmm.
back to some of the points that you made. One being escapism, right?
Yes.
And sort of forecasting to the future as a form of escapism.
Mm-hmm.
It requires a lot for you to come back to the present. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult shift, and I want to specifically look at relationships where
Yeah.
when you met this person, we just recently learned from our previous guest that there are four stages to relationshiping. Stage one being the
Mm-hmm.
initial attraction that has nothing to do with your partner, but every ideal state that you've created. Part
Mm-hmm.
two, getting acquainted, getting to know them. Part three, the choice: do I want to invest or not? Or part four, if you don't want to invest, you're not going to get to part four. Part four being you loving on them and gracefully allowing them to grow as you grow in love, of
Yeah.
course. And so it almost seems to me that people get stuck at that initial attraction state.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to know
Mm-hmm.
the person. You always anticipate the best because that's what your mind has captured. In your
Exactly.
own personal experience, what did it take to strip you away from the reality of an ideal state into what tangibly exists?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really needs you to first, for you to strip it. You would have to really see, and that time at times is more when you're experiencing the toxic behavior that forces you to realize that, okay, this is actually not what I actually wanted. So I think one thing though that we like to hear, or this where we're saying that people are women are Bob the Builders, where they would see projects. So most of the time, it comes from, if you listen to, it's people who see potential in people. So you're seeing this person, and that's usually part of that attraction. It does go deeper because that attraction also is, if you have a psychiatrist, someone who can analyze where the source of that attraction even comes from. But that's not what we're going to talk about. But even looking at seeing someone as potential, that already is already a red flag, because people are already fully developed as they are when you meet them. So if you're going to see someone and you are sort of saying that, I see what you are, but I don't see what you are. I see what you can be, and what you can be is not what you want to be, but what I want you to be. Meaning, it is this image that I have, this ideal man or woman that I've created in my head that I think will make me happy, that will serve me and make and do everything that is going to make me happy. So when then you start going to the next stage, then you realize that actually this person is not making me happy. So it then makes you wonder then, what is it that you actually wanted in the first place? Do you actually want this person, or do you want to be happy?
Mm.
And or are we after the feeling, because sometimes we are after a feeling of what a man or a child, it could be a child. Some people would want to think that, I'll be more happier if I have a child, I'll be more fulfilled as a person. And then a child is there, and then they end up resenting the child because that feeling that they wanted, thinking that this child will give them, is no longer there. And that reality then kicks in. So we don't understand that we actually want something deeper that the external cannot provide us. And this deeper is more of the feeling of what we think is going to give us. So I like to tell my sisters that a man is potential. The man, you must get a man that is potential. If you are not happy with what you see in front of you, then there's no amount of manifestation, there's no amount of manipulating, complaining, forcing him to buy you flowers, making him to do anything, because he's already fully developed as who he is. And
Oh.
it's like saying that, I'm not saying that people are pigs, but I'm just saying, take an example of taking a pig, washing it, leaving it, and putting the pig in your house, in your bed, and then you are now complaining when the pig brings in mud in your house.
Mm. 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 Mm.
So
Banzi, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I see the point you're going to. I really do, honestly. I just think
yeah.
that sometimes you meet somebody who comes in the right package,
Mm.
They have the things that you're looking for, the physical things, that excite you. And you
Mm-hmm.
think to yourself, we've had conversations. I have seen a bit of the side that I desire in you. Are you honestly
Mm.
saying to me that that side will never, ever come out?
You know, people have an ability to listen, because sometimes you are the one that is giving them and these cues and these pointers, and there people have an ability to listen and pretend and tick the boxes, because in the initial phases when you are getting to know each other, they ask you, oh, so what is it that you love? Oh, and then you're like, oh, but I love someone who's going to bring me flowers, going to do this and this. And then they sort of tick, and then they do these things that will sort of tick your boxes, so that you think that they are this person, and that's where they trap you. So for me, I'd really say, why do you want what you want in this person, or in why the things that you want? There's desires that you have, why do you have the desires?
Sure. While that
Where is it
question,
coming from?
while that question simmers, Banzi, let's just get your credentials out there. Joining us this evening is none other than Banzi Mcasa, who is an activist and is speaking to us about the necessary EQ to be able to move from ideal state to reality in relationships. There was a reference to Will Smith's book and how he addresses the ideal states that he wanted for his family from his family, and the reality that Jada and all the kids decided, listen, we are going to come against this because this does not speak to who we are. And so we are tackling that matter at hand. If you want to send through your questions, find us on WhatsApp +276340699126. You raised such an important question there. What is it that you want in this person? Banzi, in your experience, what did you want?
I want to be happy. I want peace. I want to. I want to be able to sleep without worrying. That is what I want. That is what I wake up and pursue. It is not in a form of, and this took time. Hey, this is a question I had to ask myself after reading that book and after reading also Michael Singer, a great book. I would highly recommend people to read because it explains exactly. Because we think, sometimes we are taught that we must manifest and we must, think about these things because they are going.
Banzi, you have a problem with manifestation, ne?
No, I don't. It works, but it needs to come from a point or a how can I say? You know what the saying that says, "Be careful what you wish for because you might get it."
Yeah.
That's where it comes from, where you think this is what you want and it's going to make you happy. And 90% of the time, it does not make you happy. And because the core, the reason why you wanted it was not, you want, let's say we want things because we don't want, or because we are running away from what we don't want. That's why we want this, for example. So I don't know if it makes sense. So most of the time we are focusing on why we don't want it, and then we end up getting it because we're not really understanding that the actual reason why we want this is because we don't want to be poor, for example. So we want to be rich because we are running away from being poor, and our biggest fear most of the time is not being poor. And like I said, if we were focusing on, for example, abundance and being able to live and the feeling of living in abundance, not because we don't want to be poor, but because we want freedom. We want to be happy. We want to go wherever we want. That's why we want to be rich. So that's what I'm trying to say. The manifestation sometimes comes from a point of fear, not from a point of really a centered, holistic place. And that's why we then end up attracting what we are attracting. I don't know if it makes sense.
Way there was reverse psychology, there was attraction, there was manifestation, quite a bit. But you do make sense. You do make sense in the sense that when you are focusing on the negative, which is I don't want to be poor, we tend to attract situations and contexts that bring about poverty more than we do the abundance we are hoping to achieve with that state of being. With that being said, Banzi, let's talk about the EQ. Right? There's a level of emotional intelligence rather, that is required in order for us to gauge, to realize, Shayla, I'm in this relationship. I'm not happy. I liked this person initially, but when I got to know them, they're not who I thought they were. It's time for me to let go. Can we talk about that conversation with self and how we, first of all, run away from it? And then when things hit the fan, we want to throw out toys as opposed to have conversations with self.
Yeah. yeah. And yeah, it's such a big one because most of the time we're really not honest with ourselves. We and or we are afraid to sort of confront ourselves. You find that sometimes even people are so scared of being alone that some you can't even be in a moment of just being with you and your thoughts and just being still because we're so afraid of being alone. So it gets to it becomes so hard to get to that point because that is that point where you can now start to have those internal dialogues where you're now evaluating and sitting with yourself. I remember, I don't know if you saw this other doctor who was talking about her story, who was trending a lot on TikTok, who was in a very toxic relationship with this husband that she even had to. She bought him an expensive car. She was a newly qualified doctor, bought him a Banz, and she could not survive and afford to take care of the family because he was just living his best life and she was funding it and she could not. And she says, and she was telling the story that he took the car and she could not go to work and she was on call and she had to go to the hospital and she had to walk at night. She had to run and she had to come to her senses. Like she had to talk to herself like, what am I doing? Like, why am I in this situation?
Yeah.
And that's where she had to now realize that, no, man, I'm taking my life back. So it's like being in a trance because you are so captured and infatuated with this person that you think that they're going to be better. Things are going to be better. And therefore, if you love him more or if you do something, then things will be better. So and up until you can have that in dialogue with self where you are checking in, am I happy? Because we like to self-sacrifice. We like to put other people's feelings or happiness before ours most of the time, especially for, forgot now this term, introverts, but there's another term I forgot. But we like to put other people's happiness first. And then when you sit with yourself and realize and check in, ask yourself, am I cooking because I want to or because I need to do this to make this person happy? Am I doing this because of this person or is this because it's making me happy? And what does make me happy? Because that's something that we also forget. We hardly check in to see what makes us happy. Because when we do check in, then we'll say that, no, man, the way that this person spoke to me, I did not feel good about it. Then you start now counting and checking the things that you put aside and you sweep under the carpet, thinking that it will be better soon one day. So once you check in, then you'll be able to see that, no, man, I'm not happy here and I need to prioritize my happiness.
Sure. Banzi, what's really sad is that people do get to a point where they forget what makes them happy. They
Yeah.
have spent so much time pleasing everybody else around them that when you do ask the question, what makes you happy? There's no answer. Yo, Banzi.
Yeah.
Let's conclude. Right? And let's look at pointers, things that we should consider, and I'm going to use colloquial language here, red flags. And it's not necessarily about the other person, red flags about self that should then show us, hey, listen, I think I need to sit down and check in.
Yeah. I love that because I'm not a relationship expert, so I wouldn't want to tell more in the other person.
Yeah.
But I do know more about myself and self as well. So, just for me, the first red flag is when you wake up in the morning, what comes into your mind? Are you in crisis mode? Are you? What are you doing? Are you chasing things and all of that? Do you wake up and check in with self? And what's your state of mind? when you sleep, what's going on? When are you ever present with self? Can you just get in the car, drive in complete silence? Are you at peace with self? And that's where I always say that, I don't believe in soulmates. There is no one person out there that is meant for you. The actual soulmate is that voice in your head that when you are alone, that converse with yourself, that critic that is whispering negative things in your head. If you can't live in peace with that voice and be at peace and be able to soothe yourself, self-soothe yourself, then because that voice is your actual soulmate, because it's you and that voice, that inner voice that listens to your thoughts, that hears your thoughts. That is your actual soulmate. So if you can find peace with your soul, then things will change.
Banzi, on that note, we will leave things. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We appreciate your presence on the show.
Thank you so much, Ella. Thank you so much for inviting me.
That is the voice of activist Banzi Mcasa joining us this evening. 36 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. Quite a bit for us to think about. Are you at peace with self? Can you sit in silence and be okay? Are they thoughts that are ruminating and clustering your mind and all just swirling and intertwining at the same time? Is that where you find yourself? Is the question we are asking this evening. And in actual fact, it's not for us to hear the answer. It's for you to engage self. Gauge you. Where are you right now? If you do want to share, though, we're here. +27 634 069 126.